So there are a few people out there that are actually still somehow convinced that Trump is this great negotiator and these tariffs are a genius move, and I still refuse to see it. I still don't exactly see what they're talking about, but we're going to go through this step by step because some people are very, very emotionally attached to this subject. Now, tariffs. Can they be useful? Yes. A good example would be if there's a lot of homegrown manufacturing here, if there's a lot of stuff in the U.S. that we would prefer our consumers buy here stateside rather than import from another country. Tariffing those imports from another country, yeah, that makes complete sense. That's totally fine. Doing it the way Herbert Hoover did, which made the Great Depression even longer, obviously not the right way to do it. Now, the thing is, with these tariffs that Trump implemented and then paused after saying he wasn't going to pause, there's no exemptions, there's no chance of them being paused, this and that, flipped when he saw the Treasury market take a dive, when he saw bonds take a dive. Because that's what did it. That's what kind of scared him. That's not what he expected to happen. When that happened, a lot of people were like, okay, is there actually a plan at all? What exactly is, like, because Trump unveiled that clownish sheet of, okay, here's all the countries we're putting tariffs on. The math that he used made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Trade deficits are totally fine. They're not an inherently bad thing, because if you're going to be importing a lot more things from a country than exporting to them, clearly they have a lot more in terms of minerals and compound materials, different food and crops and stuff, shit that you can't make here or grow here in the U.S. So trade deficits with other countries, they make sense. It's not the same as a budget deficit. And for some reason, I guess Trump maybe thinks they're the same. I have no fucking idea. Who knows? But it's not an inherently bad thing to have a trade deficit. And to throw gigantic tariffs on countries basically destroying their industries because they rely on exports, especially to the U.S., it makes no sense whatsoever, because you're just making everything more expensive. You're putting companies out of business. You're cutting into the profits of corporations, which I guess is fine, but that means layoffs. That means they can't export to one of the biggest, like the biggest country in the world, the United States, without it being too costly to do so. It's insane. So doing so, I have to ask. I really do have to ask. If these tariffs are not being targeted like they should be, what company or corporation that isn't based here in the U.S. is going to all of a sudden set up shop here in the United States, or hold any loyalty to the United States, or even trust us to begin with? And we'll get to that in a second. If, for one, we don't have the capacity to fulfill these manufacturing jobs if they were to come back here, and for two, we don't have the infrastructure in place to even maintain or host a lot of these companies and corporations and whatnot. None of that's even set up yet. So why do that before even putting the tariffs in place? And for three, yeah, that was my third point. If the tariffs are not, if the tariffs are a negotiating tactic or meant to bring manufacturing jobs in place, why not do that after we actually have the means to fulfill these manufacturing industries and jobs in the first place, you know? And on top of that, trust in the United States. With this whole debacle, and I guess, Trump bragging, oh, all sorts of countries are reaching out for a deal. Were any deals actually struck? Because what happened in the stock market was trillions of dollars in value was just lost. It was just gone. Just bye bye. Why should any country or company or corporation invest in the U.S. if they can't even trust what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or a month from now? Investments are way too risky right now in the United States. That's why bonds have fallen. That's why treasuries are falling. That's why the dollar is devaluing as we speak. So I ask, what is the actual point of these tariffs? I have a few ideas. We saw it. Trump admitted it. He had a couple people in, I guess, the Oval Office for a meeting, and he sat there and was bragging about how, oh, this guy just made $2.5 billion. You did really good off of this. And I think you made $900 million. And it's just like, this was a pump and dump scheme. This was market manipulation. Because the market is controlled by fear, by emotion, by trust. And if everybody's dumping their stocks, if everything's going down, that gives the ultra rich incentive to buy up everything for cheap. And so you saw the wealthiest 0.01% or whatever the fuck, that like the billionaires here in America walk away with this in the past like week or so with like $304 billion in new wealth, whereas countless people's 401ks dropped. A lot of people are now like concerned about their retirement, all because Trump wants to manufacture a crash with these tariffs. Probably, who knows? Maybe. And turn around and it's insider trading. That's what this was. That's what happened. There's no plan. It was just favors for his billionaire butt buddies, because that's what he's been doing his whole his whole life, especially since he first ran for president. Wealthiest cabinet in the world, or in the United States history, its first term. Second term is no different. So yeah, it's stupid. My dad had an interesting theory about how maybe shake off the dead weight, cut the fat, burn it all down, get rid of these predatory hedge fund managers and get all the excess overinflated value out of the market. And sure, that's a good theory, but he didn't stick to it for long. Once those treasuries, I think it was the 10-year, whatever the fuck, once all that started going down, Trump was like, okay, pause. Even though he said, oh, I'm not going to change my mind, I'm not going to, and there was conflicting story, not even his own cabinet, not even his own officials could get the story straight. So, if you have a better explanation than me, I would love to hear it. A couple more things. So, right now, China is all about free market capitalism. Woohoo! You want to trade with us? Come and get it. Leg spread. Let's make a deal. Let's partner up. These tariffs from Trump got China to make a deal with South Korea and Japan There's a famous picture of them now, like standing next to each other with just shaking hands side to side. It's so like a lot of people think that China needs us more than we need them. And I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. Especially in the long term. Because since Trump's first term, when he first did that round of tariffs, China was like, okay, maybe it's best for us if we lessen our reliance on U.S. trade. Because for a while, yeah, I mean, I get it. Intellectual property theft, cheap labor, devaluing their currency and all that to make themselves the manufacturing hub of the world. Yeah, China, not the best place, clearly. But the thing is, we're putting these tariffs, like first it was, like, okay, for example, how are tariffs used right now? Take a look at Canada. Canada has what, like a 270, 290% tariff on milk from the U.S., something like that. And why do they do that? Because they want to protect their own dairy industry. They want to protect Canadian dairy. They want to incentivize consumers and, you know, outlets within their country and whatnot to purchase Canadian dairy, not American dairy. That's why there's such a huge tariff against our milk, for example. This is the case all over the world. This is, I mean, it's smart if the industry is already in place in your country. So if you look at, you know, there's a lot of rhetoric from Howard Lutnick or Scott Bessent or whoever the fuck in Trump's circle saying, oh, we want to bring all these manufacturing jobs to the United States. Where's the infrastructure for that? Why are we putting, you know, 34% tariffs, and then it was 68%, then it was 104%, and now it's 125%, now it's like 145% or something like that. Just a tit-for-tat trade war back and forth with China, who did not back down until Trump paused at the last moment because of the treasuries falling off a cliff. The infrastructure is not in place to incentivize Americans to buy American-made tech products because they're not made here. It's all made in China. So why not make that a reality first? Why not make the factories here first before you tariff Chinese products? And it's like when Trump first said there'd be no exemptions, no like everybody gets hurt. Basically, like we're tariffing people who don't need to be tariffed, and all it does is just raise prices. That's it. Like, you're not going to bring in like industry back from fucking Vietnam or those uninhabited islands near Antarctica. Like, come on. These weren't thought through at all. It's like, we're just like when exemptions were made, when the pause was made and exemptions were announced, they were announced for smartphones and computers. I think that was it. What about all the other tech? What about appliances? What about all the other things that rely on the rare earth minerals that China controls a gigantic portion of, like the majority of in the world? It just doesn't make any sense.